patch 12.0.7 is bringing this Omnium Folio power system. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like you roll your eyes at this point. Oh, another, power system, another temporary thing that we're going to do in a 0.7 patch that's going to be gone eventually. But let's see what this thing's about. We got to give it a chance. All right, let's take a first look here with Dalaran Gaming on the PTR servers here about what this Omnium Folio is about and what it's going to be like as we dive into 12.0.7. Here we go.
Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal, and patch 12.07 recently got up for testing over on the PTR realms, which currently looks like it's going to be the final catch-up update before Season 2 content. And if you are somebody who's still looking to get all of these season rewards before Season 2, then this update is going to be delivering that in a form of a brand new player power called an Omnium Folio, which is this expansion's first mid-expansion player power progression system, which Blizzard has done in the past.
Yeah, nothing new. I mean, what do we have? The Cersei's Signet thing, the ring. We had the Titan belt not too long ago. This seems like a common theme. I don't know what it is. Like Blizzard has to check a box every expansion where they're like, oh, here comes the temporary power grind. So this is probably another one of those things.
Expansions like Dragonflight and even as recently as War
Circlet,
Within.
yes.
So unlike those past systems,
Signet,
they're actually
Circlet.
changing the functionality of this with a new specialized customizable talent tree that'll be accessible to the player passively. So today I want to take a closer look at what this new player power progression system called the Omnium Folio looks like, and what kind of runes and abilities you're going to be able to imbue into this in order to help you complete all of your seasonal goals whenever patch 12.07 launches. With that being said, as always, if you guys do want to keep up with the regular updates for the Midnight as an expansion or any future builds like 12.07, be sure to follow the channel and subscribe. But otherwise, let's dive right in.
Yes, let's do it.
So with 12.07, we're going to be getting even more player power. Even though it's going to be more temporary borrowed power by the looks of things, it is going to be something that they'll be introducing as like a catch-up benefit. They've done this before previously as items that your character...
I just want to say real quick, I mean, Dalaran, he's clearly a man, and this is his character. This is a cautionary tale to all people who play the game. Just remember, the really hot Blood Elf chick's probably a guy. Okay? I'm just putting that out there as a man of the people, to warn the people. Just in case you fall for it, just be aware. The hottest chicks in the game are always men. Okay?
Would usually wear, whether it is expansions like Dragonflight, War Within. Midnight is introducing more player power just for additional output, though this time around they're doing it a little bit differently. Instead of introducing an item that will actually take up one of your socket slots, like your rings or a trinket or a weapon or a cloak or any of these other items, and instead it's just something that happens actively and passively just on your character without you having to do anything. And it's called Omnium Folio. Omnium Folio is essentially like a little talent tree that just is active in the background. So this isn't something you're gonna have to equip with your character, it's just passively there.
Okay.
It's also...
I mean, that does make it better, by the way, than an equipable item. I'd rather not have an item slot taken up by this ship. So this is fine.
Customizable, though with a bit of a drawback. Omnium Folio is something that you're going to be able to advance over a number of weeks after you complete a weekly quest. And essentially it's going to take you 5 weeks to unlock all 5 rows of this customizable borrowed power bonus system. So I do wish the Blizzard would stop doing the whole borrowed power, but also time gating these things.
Yeah, I was going to say, of course it's time gated. As soon as I saw there was a currency attached to the, the little power tree, I was like, yeah, that's going to be a time-gated currency. Once a week, we're going to advance this thing, and it's going to take us however long to fill it out. So yeah, 5 weeks to fill out this tree, of course.
I wish they would just let you grind this out so you can unlock all ranks immediately day one.
By the way, this probably will technically be a nerf to the raid as well. I mean, if you think about it, we're going to get this player power buff over the course of 5 weeks. This is just going to make the raid that much more easy to clear. I mean, you do get to a point every single expansion where... yeah, the raid content just becomes trivial because you just out DPS the mechanics, and that's probably what's going to happen here.
And if you wanted to, I really hope they would consider, just because grinding out for 5 weeks is not that engaging. But if you just have to like grind in a single day, but have to do a bunch of weekly quests for it, I'll be fine with it personally. I think that's how they should do it. I think they should change it up. I'd rather do like a billion Mythic Plus dungeons week 1 than have to do this like over a number of 5 weeks until my character's at full power. That being said, the Omnium Folio is going to be something that's a little bit more customizable than previous borrowed power systems, although with limitations, so don't expect for it to do some crazy output, crazy work. The first ability that you'll get off the bat will be your primary core ability. It's going to be your core rune that you're going to be able to start out with. It has two effects, which are both going to be some sort of an active, or rather a passive damage and a healing component, which I'll actually be able to show off a little bit on the train dummy as well. The first ability is going to be a Rune of Void Touch Orbs, where every 10 seconds you can attract an orb that will then, you could basically accumulate up to 5 of them, and next time you use a damaging ability, it'll deal either damage to an enemy or heal an ally with the orb. So this is going to be more of a passive effect that just kind of accumulates every 10 seconds and adds that consistency in terms of the output of damage that it does. So you can kind of see the kind of damage it can really do on its own.
But you gotta go pick up the orbs. I see them out there, so you gotta go get them.
Easy. It's just a little bit of additional damage that your character is going to be able to execute every so often. So it is at least something that is
right. He's not getting them, is he? Is he getting stacks though?
Available, guaranteed every 10 seconds that you're able to build up into it and then unleash all at the same time. This is confusing. However, you can actually change it up and go with the other effect instead. You can go
so he's getting the effect without actually going and getting the orbs though. That's okay. That's the Devour Demon Hunter shit. All right, I haven't played Devour, so I didn't know it was shooting purple balls everywhere. Okay.
Rune of Unleash Fire instead, and you can switch out between those two anytime you want to. Rune of Unleash Fire doesn't have the same consistency as the Touched Orbs. It's instead is just a random chance for it to call down a Pillar of Flame, which will deal fire damage or heal allies within an area. So with this, it essentially plays around the RNG effect. So with the orb, the void thing, you're able to get very consistent output. You're able to accumulate a certain amount of stacks, and then you have the most of them in the opener. But here, as I'm spamming Consume with Demon Hunter, there's a slight chance that it might use the Unleash Fire ability. So it's a little bit kind of RNG whether it does proc, so you are playing with a little bit more of a chance. But technically, this one can proc back-to-back multiple times in a row.
Interesting. I mean, people are going to run the Sims, and then they're going to tell us which one to pick. Wowhead's going to tell you which one to pick, and then everyone's going to pick the meta. So they always give us these choices, but they're not really choices.
To train dummy very, very carefully, you'll actually see like a fiery effect pop here and there, and you'll see that the Rune of Unleash Fire can actually proc back-to-back multiple times over. There's also a possibility that certain classes that maybe scale well with procs, maybe like classes that are heavy in haste, if these ability scales with haste, or maybe this scales with instances of damage, so like a melee class with dual weapon that attacks really quickly, like a rogue for instance, or maybe even like a Havoc Demon Hunter maybe, something that can go up in melee, maybe will just get more procs because of number of attacks compared to a caster who usually casts one spell at a time. So we'll see how the tuning goes on those two, but there seems to be one that has this RNG random chance of damage, while the other has more of a consistent counterpart to it. The RNG one could technically be good if it procs often enough.
Yeah, it depends on how
From there, though, every other week, you are going to be finding a way to upgrade your folio with other bonuses. Next row bonus is going to be a defensive bonus, where Rune of Self-Mending, as your core deals damage, it will heal you whenever you're below a certain amount of health. So this could potentially be good for rot damage in a raid or a dungeon. Like if you're constantly finding yourself low, then this should get a decent bit of overall healing for you, as it procs with every single core proc. The middle one is a cheat death mechanic called Rune of Void Tainted Shell. When struck for more than 10% of your max health, you gain an absorb shield that absorbs a set amount of damage, likely scaling with your stats, but only a 50% of the damage you taken is taken into the shield. So it's like a 50% DR shield up until a certain point of damage is absorbed, and it lasts for 10 seconds.
Nice tanking.
This cheat death effect can proc every 30 seconds. So it only needs to take 10% of your health and damage. So this could be good on raids, could be good in dungeons, potentially good in PvP if this functions for PvP. So this is like a passive extra shielding that's there every 30 seconds.
It's also good for solo players. I mean, you're probably going to, spec this thing out a little bit different if you're doing solo content compared to if you're raiding and stuff. So this will be good either way.
This was really, really good for the healing.
It'll change what
this
you
could
take.
Potentially be good for a damage that could potentially blow you out of the water if you're taking back-to-back consistently high hits over and over again. The final one is a different one, Rune of Lynx-like Reflexes. When struck in combat, increase your speed by 115 for 10 seconds.
Ooh.
Speed is a weird tertiary stat that's actually not that terrible. It grants you additional movement. Now, movement is a little weird to quantify as like a defensive stat, but in some cases, it can be a great defensive stat in some opportunities. Like for a class that has no mobility, like a Shadow Priest, for instance, Red Paladin, Death Knight, movement can be great inside of a raid, inside of a dungeon. That's a quick sprint for you to get in and out of mechanics, to dodge out of an ability. And speed is generally the highly valued stat for PvP as well. So this gives you a significant amount of speed for 10 seconds and then it waits 20 seconds until you can activate again, but it activates anytime you take damage, so you're looking at an additional movement speed for your character that could potentially be really clutch in some situations. I think a lot of players are probably going to gravitate towards the Supplementing or Void Taint Shell, but I wouldn't discount Link's reflexes though. The next row is going to be a damage row with a rune of Lingering. The effects of your core leaves the target with a periodic damage that deals additional cosmic damage or restores health over 8 seconds. It's a healing overtime effect after your core ability procs. So this is going to be depending whether you hit an enemy or an ally, be dot or hot. Your core rune favors hitting targets who are unaffected by rune of Lingering. So for example, if let's say your Void Touch Orb hit an enemy, and then it did AoE damage, one target got dotted, it hits again, another target will get dotted. So this will try to spread this dot to multiple targets. So just additional passive damage or healing that just plays off of your proc effect, whether you have the Void Touch Orbs or fire. The next row is going to be pretty much what a lot of players expected, is just secondary stat row. Anytime you core ability procs, you either get critical strike rating that can potentially overlap. So if you get multiple procs, like maybe Void Touch Orbs, a bunch of orbs hitting, those core stacks can overlap with a bunch of crit at the very opener. Or if you're going for like Unleash Fire, where there's a higher chance to RNG get a proc, then potentially you could be overlapping multiple secondary stats. We got crit, we got haste, we got one for mastery, as well as we got one for versatility.
Yeah, this is all, it's like I said, it's a buff. It's almost like a nerf to the raid though too. It's definitely like a soft buff to every single class.
So this could potentially be good for some classes that may want to get a bursty opener with a bunch of orbs at the start, and you want to do peak damage at the start. Or if you're somebody who's looking to get a lot of RNG with Unleash Fire, that could potentially be good there as well. Now, the final row is basically going to help solidify the rest of your build to give it a bit of flavor.
Let's see what these
are. The first skill is going to be a Rune of Overload. Increase the effectiveness of your core rune ability by 100%, which means your basic core ability is just going to do more damage or more healing. The next one is going to be a Rune of Residual Energy. Increases the effectiveness of your Rune of Lingering by 100%, so which Rune of Lingering is a damage overtime effect. So you can either buff up maybe the direct damage or the dot effectiveness instead. And this potentially could be good for certain classes. Some may potentially play with some damage over time components, but others may potentially play with a bit more.
I don't know. It's like I said, we're going to see how it sims out, but the dot effect probably better for longer boss fights. The burst effect better for like Mythic Plus, burning down mobs and shit.
Or instant damage. And then we also have Rune of Echoes. The effect of a core rune, so the main ability, leaves an echo and curse on the target. And after 10 seconds, an echo of all the damage and healing done by your core lingering rune is repeated at 50% effectiveness. Ooh. So this could potentially be good if you're looking to proc the rune and have an echo of the rune proc multiple times in a row. Right now, we don't really have the full unlock for the Omnium Folios, but there's a potential that Rune of Echo, since it mimics the original core effect, it may potentially proc more secondary stats. So this may potentially be a weaker overall damage proc, but it might be better if you're looking to get more secondary stat value out of the second to last row. So this could potentially be really, really good in that regard. Or maybe if you're a class with a bunch of procs and you want to layer them on top of each other, potentially taking the core rune, putting a curse, and then having the curse roll into itself could also be really, really good in some situations. So there's an opportunity for you to be able to customize your folio, but as you can see, they're all pretty standard in terms of damage proc, healing proc, as well as some of the effects that follow, though there's a number of different ways that you could be customized for all the classes. Right now,
seems boring. Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't think anything crazy was coming out of this thing, but, you know, at least it doesn't replace an item slot, I guess. Unreal Blue, what's up, man? So, yeah, it's just, it is what it is. It's another borrowed power system. There's nothing too exciting about this thing. I didn't think there would be, and it's time gated, so there you go. And like I said, it's basically a 5-week soft nerf on the raid and all the other content in the game. So people will be, you know, a little bit more powerful in 5 weeks after 12.0.7 goes live.
We don't really have the sims for how good the Omnium Folio is going to be long term, but it can be assumed that it will likely be a fairly decent upgrade for every single character, especially because it doesn't take up an armor slot. So it doesn't take up like a trinket slot, a ring, or a weapon.
You know, I think he said 5 weeks. I don't think he said bi-weekly, but that would be 10 weeks. I don't even think the patch is going to be 10 weeks long. That'd be ridiculous. So I think 5 weeks makes sense. That's typically what you would see. 5 weeks would take us a bit past the halfway point of the patch. And there you go. We'd be basically, by the time you hit a little bit over halfway through the patch cycle, everyone's buffed.
So it needs to be simmed. It's just an additional passive bonus damage with some additional defensive and stat value on top of it. Depending on how classes utilize the Omnium Folio and what the proc rate is looking like after some of the final numbers come out, this potentially could be a pretty sizable upgrade for a number of classes and potentially could lead us to do even more damage, especially for the final patch of the Season 1 of Midnight. So Omnium Folio might be a significant damage increase long term, which is going to be fantastic for any players that have yet to finish out all the seasonal rewards and are looking to potentially come back for the end of the season, get some free additional power in order to be able to power through some of those seasonal rewards before they're gone, before Season 2 content is finally here. With that being said, as always, I do want to thank all of you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys did enjoy this update. If you did enjoy this video or found it informative, go ahead and give it a like, because I would very much appreciate it. Be sure to join our Discord community, especially if you want to keep up with all new updates regarding Midnight as well as any future builds. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And as always, I'll see all of you guys in the next one.
Yeah, nothing too crazy. It's just, it is what it is. It's another borrowed power system that we're getting. That'll basically be obsolete once Season 2 kicks off. Season 2 kicking off in August? Yeah, probably, but this patch not going to come out till like early June. So it's the entire patch probably be 8 to 9 weeks, 10 weeks at most. I don't think they're going to make us grind out this thing for 10 weeks just for it to be obsolete. You know, Season 2 is going to kick off. We're going to get all new gear, all kinds of stuff. This thing might stick around because it's not taking up a gear slot. So as long as you're in Midnight zones, this buff's going to probably apply. So it'll just be passively there. Maybe for the rest of the expansion. We'll see. But why are we watching a 20-minute video about it if it's not exciting? It wasn't 20 minutes. It probably would after my react. But well, we got to know about it, right? It's interesting to look at it. And I guess we're seeing that it's just another borrowed power system. 5 weeks, I believe, is the timeline to fill this thing out. Overall, yeah, just another system. Same shit, different patch. A nice video overall, though, from Dalaran.